So when I was coming here to talk about India-Nepal relations and what it means, I thought of three things. One that would shape the policies and the elections that is coming up and what that actually translates to the formulation of policies. So I'll just take maybe 2 or 3 minutes on that. And the second one will be on the lessons of the landlocked countries in Europe and how they succeeded and what it is in South Asia and what it means to Nepal-India relations also. And the last is, as Anilji also brought out, on the security cooperation, which is the spine of the relationship that is predictable, respectful, and resilient, which is the foundation of our strategic stability. So when you talk about the elections, the uprising and the demonstrations in the street was not a surprise, but how it unfolded was a surprise. So the viable option was only elections. Now, the question arises, will this election give or provide the stability, the strategic stability that Nepal needs so that it can foster its relationship with India and with other neighboring countries? So I see 4 strategic narratives, competing narratives. One is emphasizes on the experienced nationalism. Second is the reformist and the youth's leadership. Third is the emerging young political forces. And fourth is the support for the restorations of the monarchy. So together with these narratives, there are 3 messages. One is it's a symbolic of nationalism. Second is institutional reforms. And the third is generational renewal. So there are altogether, I earmark as 6 stakeholders. One is the established political parties, which has 3 sides. One is the established political parties, the newly formed political parties, and the recent political parties. And the other is the political parties that support the monarchy. And the last is the civil society that is bringing out issues of governance and ineffectiveness in there. So the core question is, will the elections and the fault lines really bring about, or will it repeat the cycle again? So my analysis on this is, I think we should be more worried about the post-elections and the acceptance of the election rather than the elections being conducted or not. The election is going to be conducted, but the acceptance by the forces, by the stakeholders, and the narratives that I just told.
Likewise, when you have growth of the port connectivity across India and the time taken, 10 years ago, it used to take 4 days for a ship to unload in any average Indian port. Now it's down to 1 day, better than the global average. Now that connectivity is because of Sagarmala. That same Sagarmala connectivity is extended to Nepal and to you. So when we talk at times nowadays and we say India is actually an island state with land borders, as much as you said, so is Nepal, an island state connected to the seas through Indian connections, and those links must remain at the back of our mind as to how do we strengthen those links, make the movement across it easier, faster, with greater volumes, because that automatically takes care of the economies of scale and takes care of both our requirements. Absolutely correct that Nepal's involvement in the Bay of Bengal, in the Indian Ocean, is vital. And that's why you are a central figure in the BIMSTEC. In various discussions that have taken place in the BIMSTEC, times people have asked this question and wondered, why is Nepal there? Because Nepal, as you very correctly have brought out, has got a huge dependence on the seas. It's just that the proximity from the seas is a little bit further, but that little bit further is no longer to be looked upon in times of distance, it will be looked upon in times of time. And while the distance remains the same, the time is getting reduced with the growth of connectivity. So yes, the ongoing measures in your ongoing institutional mechanisms and a greater attention to the seas is very much required, and that's exactly what you're doing. And all the linkages that you have with institutions across in India, I think they're coming in handy to bring that home.
Talking about security cooperation between India and improving security cooperation between India and Nepal. I think very often people confuse security cooperation with defense cooperation. And to my mind, when citizen of one country sheds blood to defend the integrity of another nation, there cannot be a greater security cooperation or defense cooperation between two countries anywhere in the world. So I think as far as India-Nepal security cooperation is concerned, I think it can't be matched. That's a fact. Having said that, the session that we have to speak is on transnational threats, connectivity and economic security in India-Nepal relations. That's the thing, and I was told that I should talk about cross-border terrorism. I think India is one of the biggest victims of cross-border terrorism. We are seeing infiltration across the borders, different terrorists coming in from across the globe, indulging in acts of terror. But what is important is that India and Nepal have an open border. And I think a lot of people talked about we need to have better border management, we need to. I know one thing, that no amount of surveillance, no amount of physical security measures can ever seal a border. The world's biggest country and the most powerful country, the United States, has never been able to seal its border with Mexico, despite its all attempts. So it will never happen. I think we are friendly countries. We need better sharing of communications. We need better intelligence sharing, better surveillance. All these facilities we do need. But surveillance often becomes obtrusive, and it actually creates problems. I think we have thousands of kilometers of border, and I think there are so many places where people crisscross without any checks or balances. But one odd incidence where I think one security personnel may have probably hinder or object becomes a big talking point. And this we need to understand, that when you have such large borders, there will always be some issues once in a while. Now when we talk of India, all around India, countries are in turbulence.